There are some quadratic equations that you can't solve by factoring. And there are some equations where the coefficients make using the completing the square method particularly tricky. So what we're going to look at is a formula that you can always use to solve quadratic equations. If you get all of the terms on one side of a quadratic equation so that it's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, then you can use what we call the quadratic formula to come up with the solutions. We would have x is equal to, and in the numerator, we have the negative of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all that over 2 times a. Now I wrote this in two colors for a particular reason. Every quadratic formula problem, after you get everything over there on one side, is going to start out with what I wrote in blue there. It's always going to start out like this. And then solving the equation is going to be a matter of filling in a and b and c in the correct parentheses and then simplifying your expression. So let's take a look at an example. Here we have 3x squared plus 16x plus 5 is equal to 0. We've already got everything on one side and it's equal to 0. Just like factoring, you have to have it equal to 0 before you can use the quadratic formula. Here we would have a is equal to 3, b, the coefficient of x, is 16, and c, our constant term, is 5. So let's use our quadratic formula now to solve this equation. We'll start by making a big fraction. I'm going to go ahead and write that version with the blank parentheses first, because every problem where you're using the quadratic formula is going to start out exactly like this. And it's just a matter of filling in the parentheses correctly and then simplifying it correctly. In this case, b for this equation is 16. So we'll put a 16 in those first two spots. A for this equation is 3. So we'll put a 3 in those two spots. C for this equation is 5. Every problem with the quadratic formula starts out the same. It's just fill in the numbers in the correct spot. And now you want to make sure, don't try to simplify too many things all at once. Students tend to have mistakes when they do that. I like to simplify this first just by doing the squaring and multiplying parts. The first thing on the top, we would have the negative of 16 is just negative 16. Then plus or minus a square root. Under the square root, 16 squared is 256. And then negative 4 times 3 times 5 is minus 60. And in the denominator, 2 times 3 is 6. Now we would go ahead and subtract the numbers under the square root. 256 minus 60 is 196. Next, you want to simplify the square root as much as you can. And in this case, the square root of 196 is exactly 14. So we have negative 16 plus or minus 14 over 6. Now, the plus or minus symbol on the top tells us it could be either. It could be a plus or a minus. And especially because these are like terms that we need to combine, we need to work out both of those. So we need to work out negative 16 plus 14 over 6 and negative 16 minus 14 over 6. The first one, negative 16 plus 14 is negative 2. And negative 2/6, when you reduce it, we get a solution of negative 1/3. On the bottom one, negative 16 minus 14 is negative 30. Negative 30 divided by 6, when you simplify it, you have negative 5. So negative 1/3 and negative 5 are the solutions. It may seem like that took a while, but after you practice these, you'll notice that every quadratic formula problem has the same steps. Get everything on one side, set up the formula, square and multiply, simplify what's under the square root, and it's the same steps every time. If you'd like to try the next problem on your own, pause the video now and resume when you're ready to see the solution. Here we have all the terms on one side, so we can say A is 2, B, the coefficient of x squared is 9, C, our constant term, is 10. So we'll start by setting up our quadratic formula, negative parentheses, plus or minus square root of a parentheses squared minus 4 times a parentheses over 2 times a parentheses. B in this case is 9, so we'll put a 9 in those first two blanks. A is 2, so we'll put a 2 in that blank and in the blank on the bottom. C is 10. Now when we do the squaring and multiplying, we would have negative 9 plus or minus the square root. 9 squared is 81. Negative 4 times 2 times 10 is minus 80. And we have all that over 4. When we subtract the numbers under the square root, this leaves us with negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 1 over 4. And the square root of 1 is 1. So we have negative 9 plus or minus 1 over 4. And because it's a plus or minus, we can write it as each one separately. Negative 9 plus 1 over 4, negative 9 minus 1 over 4. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8, and negative 8 over 4 is negative 2. Negative 9 minus 1 is negative 10. Negative 10 over 4, when we simplify it, we would have negative 5/2. So negative 2 and negative 5/2 would be our solutions.